Friends, a few days back, the jailed PKK leader Öcalan declared a ceasefire from jail, ending a 40-year-old struggle between the SDF, Turkey and the so-called terror outfit. This shows a new path of peace for the Kurds. In this, Öcalan said, "We are declaring a ceasefire to be effective from today, and none of our forces will take armed action unless attacked." That is what the Executive Committee of the Kurdistan Workers' Party PKK said in the statement. And this announcement was followed by a call from the jailed PKK leader, like I said, Abdullah Öcalan, a few days back, signaling a desire to end an armed insurgency that has lasted for more than 40 years across southeastern Turkey, Syria, northern Iraq and into neighboring Iran. Öcalan, who is 75, has been imprisoned on an island south of Istanbul since being captured by Turkish security forces in Kenya in 1999. So the announcement rippled across Middle East and may affect an array of Kurdish militia groups with long held but very tied to the PKK. The group, which is classified as terrorist in Turkey, the US and the UK, called this announcement as a part of a new historic process for the Middle East. So Öcalan's announcement and the ceasefire of the PKK with the various other countries where they have been fighting and have been declared as terror groups will be a new historic process, and the ceasefire can change the geopolitics and dynamics of this area. The Turkish President Erdogan also called Öcalan's message as a start of a new phase for peace efforts, although his government has publicly rebuffed suggestions that Öcalan's call could be followed by peace talks. There is an opportunity to take a historic step towards tearing down the wall of terror that has stood between the Turkish and the Kurdish people, and can reinstate the 1,000-year-old brotherhood. Now Turkey's Erdogan's administration has instead sought a multilateral ceasefire from the PKK after his right-wing national coalition partner Baseli suggested that the Turkish parliament that Öcalan could be granted a form of parole if the group were to lay down arms and its other groups could be disbanded. So this war between PKK and Turkey and SDF has been going on, and there have been arrests, killings happening across northwest Iran, Turkey, Syria, and also they have been striking in other places for their rights. So here we need to know what have the Kurdish people been wanting, and also who are these Kurds. So before moving on, please volunteer for our NGO Kuma Dream Foundation, where we educate the underprivileged children and also the children of our artisans who make the handicrafts of West Bengal and which are showcased on our e-com site Shonajuri Arts. Like I said, the Kurds are one of the largest population without a state, making up a sizable minority in Iran, Iraq, Syria and Turkey. This century-old fight for rights, autonomy and even an independent Kurdistan has been marked by marginalization and persecution. The Sykes-Picot Agreement of 1960 divides Middle East into British and French zones of influence and delineates the borders of modern Middle East. Following the World War I, the Treaty of Sèvres, signed in 1920, dissolves the Ottoman Empire and proposes the creation of an autonomous Kurdish state. Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, Turkey's new leader, rejected this Sèvres. It is replaced in 1923 by the Treaty of Lausanne, which negotiated with the new Turkish government, which omits any reference to a Kurdish homeland. The Kurds inhabiting previously Ottoman territories are dispersed across the newly demarcated borders of Iran, Iraq, Syria, Turkey, and they repeatedly revolted against the respective authorities. And that is the start of the Kurdish revolution for an independent state, a place for them to live. In 1946, the Kurds established Republic of Mahabad, a short-lived independently government state in Kurd inhabited territories of Iran that came under Soviet control during World War II. Iran reoccupied Mahabad after Soviet withdrawal in December 1946, and this is when Mustafa Barzani, considered the father of Kurdish nationalism, created the Kurdish Democratic Party of Iraq while in exile in Republic of Mahabad, later renamed the Kurdistan Democratic Party KDP. It was only Kurdish party in Iraq until the 1970s. It remains the dominant Kurdish party. In 1961, following unfulfilled promises of autonomy under the rule of Iraqi Prime Minister Abd al-Karim Qasim, Barzani launches a Kurdish rebellion. It continues throughout the decade against successive Iraqi regimes. Iraq's Baath Party, a regional branch of the Pan-Arabist socialist movement, comes into power in 1968. In March 70, the Baathist government details plans for Kurdish autonomy, but these are not implemented, and fighting resumes in 1974. In the census of Syria's Al-Hasaka governorate, Kurds who cannot prove their residency in Syria prior to 1942 and those who fail to participate are stripped of their citizenship, rendering them stateless and unable to travel anywhere. These Kurds and their descendants are unable to vote, have owned property or businesses, or legally marry. In April 2011, amid an intensifying uprising, President Bashar al-Assad promises some unregistered Kurd citizenship. After that, Syrian leader Hafez al-Assad establishes a called Arab Belt along the border with Turkey, displacing Syrian Kurds. The move is designated to weaken Kurdish dominance of resource and in rich areas. Assad Baathist seized power in 1970, and 7 years after the power came to power in a coup. After that, Abdullah Öcalan founds the Kurdish Workers' Party, which is the PKK, as a Marxist organization with the aim of establishing an independent Kurdistan in Turkey's southeast. Though initially not taken seriously, the PKK steadily gains adherents amongst disenfranchised or franchised Kurds. A military coup takes place in Turkey in 1980 and the PKK leadership flees to Syria. In 1984, the organization begins to use violence against the state and terrorist activities, and the US designates it as a terrorist organization in 1997. At least 40,000 people had been killed in the Turkish-Kurdish conflict till date. After that, with the collapse of the autonomy agreement in 1974, Iraq's Baathist regime seeks to consolidate government control over the oil-rich regions in the country's north, displacing hundreds of thousands of Kurdish inhabitants of the area and replaces them with Arabs from central and southern Iraq. Iraqi Kurds, supported by Iran and US, revolt against the Baathist regime. In Algiers, Iraq's Saddam Hussein recognizes Iranian sovereignty over half of the Shatt al-Arab estuary in exchange for Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi's commitment to stop assisting Iraqi Kurds. The US, which has been providing money and arms to Iraqi Kurds since 1972 at Iran's request, withdraws its support for the Kurds. The Kurdish rebellion collapses after that. And then the PKK is formed. Divisions among Iraqi Kurds emerge after rebellion's collapse, denouncing Barzani as reactionary. Jalal Talabani splinters from the KDP to establish the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan, that is the PUK, and the fight goes on for their landhood. Masoud Barzani takes on the presidency of the Kurdistan Democratic Party of Iraq after the death of his father Mustafa. Bardani is re-elected as KDP president at every subsequent party congress to date. In 2005, he is elected president of the semi-autonomous Kurdistan Regional Government, the KRG. Then, during the Gulf War, Saddam enlisted and armed Iranian Kurds while Iraqi Kurds once again rebel against Baghdad with Iran's support. Both governments view their Kurdish populations as collaborating with the enemy and retaliate against civilians, destroying villages and carrying out summary executions. These cross-border alliances also deepen divisions and spur clashes between the Iranian and the Iraqi Kurds. And Saddam has been a big instrument in carrying out a division between the Iranian and the Iraqi Kurds, because he made them fight against each other and also created genocide. And in 1999, with US help, Öcalan is apprehended by Turkish forces in Nairobi, Kenya, and he is sentenced to life imprisonment for treason. This is when the Kurdish process throughout Turkey and across Europe was sparked off and gained momentum. Following his capture, the PKK declared an unilateral ceasefire which ends in June 2004. When US forces invaded Europe, toppling the Saddam government, Kurds played a central role in drafting the interim Iraqi constitution, which recognizes the autonomy of the KRG. Within the new federal system, Talabani is named the first Kurdish president of Iraq. Kurdish parties participate in 2005 elections and are included in Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki's unity government in 2006. The KRG remains a part of the federal Iraqi state throughout the present. Then comes the Party for a Free Life in Kurdistan, PJAK, a PKK-inspired guerrilla group that claims to have 3,000 fighters, took up arms against the Iranian state. The United States designated PJAK a terrorist organization in 2009 over its ties with the PKK. In 2011, PJAK signs a ceasefire agreement with the Iranian government following a massive military campaign that killed hundreds. In 2011, Kurdish support was there amongst an uprising which embattled President Bashar al-Assad, issuing a decree 49 which grants citizenship to Kurds who were registered as foreigners in the 1962 census. Kurds who were never registered remained stateless. And this is where, reversing earlier policies, Turkey deepened ties and energy cooperations with the Iraqi Kurds following the US withdrawal from Iraq. In 2011 April, President Erdogan becomes the first Turkish leader to visit Iraqi Kurdistan. Following this, a historic visit by KRG President Barzani to Diyarbakir in southeastern Turkey in November 2013. Meanwhile, in May 2012, the parties agreed to build 3 pipelines to bring oil and gas from KRG to Turkey. And in 2012, PKK and Turkey, they renew their peace talks to have bonhomie between them and with promises that they would be given statehood and also given a right to elect and take part in elections. And within all this, in the Syrian country's civil war, the Kurdish PYD unilaterally declared 3 autonomous cantons in Syria's north known as Rojava, the Western Kurdistan. And then in 13, KRG bypassed Baghdad to start selling oil to other countries. In 2014, aiming to establish a caliphate in the Levant, the self-proclaimed Islamic State, a Sunni Muslim jihadi group, takes control of large swaths of Iraq, including Mosul, Iraq's second largest city, and territory controlled by the semi-autonomous KRG. Iraqi National Forces and KRG's Peshmerga buckle in the face of Islamic State advance. However, in June, the Peshmerga take control of the long-disputed oil-rich city of Kirkuk. Then the Islamic State militants attacked Kobani, a strategically located Syrian Kurdish town that borders Turkey and is controlled by the PYD. As the PYD defended itself, the United States comes to its support with heavy airstrikes and airdrops of armament. US support for the PKK's affiliate leads to a crisis in US-Turkey relationship. And in 2015, the Syrian Kurds take control of the places by capturing El Tabib, a Syrian town along the border with Turkey that was a transit point for the Islamic State capital's Raqqa. And then the battle between the Islamic State and the Kurds in Syria and Turkey carried on with attacks going on and US also supporting it with arms and ammunition. And after years of supporting Syrian rebels, Turkey intervened directly in northern Syria, backing the Arab fighters against the Islamic State. Part of the motivation was to restrict Syrian Kurds from connecting their 2 cantons, and that globally was largely achieved during the 7-month operation. The Turkish deployment of troops and advisors halted a Kurdish advance west of Euphrates River and created a complex front line that includes the 2 opposing US allies and Russia and Iran-backed forces loyal to the Assad regime. In 2017, US armed the Syrian Kurds to carry on their fight against the other nations so that they could get statehood. And on September 25, 2017, the Iraqi Kurds voted for independence, but then it was not to be. And with a period of time with the Kurds in Syria, in Iraq, in Iran and Turkey fighting against their own state for statehood carried on till a ceasefire has been declared recently. So let us see how this ceasefire can be a historic step towards progress, stopping of all the killings and terrorist activities, and let us hope the Kurds get their much deserved statehood and the land of their own, Kurdistan. So keep watching this channel to know more about such issues, and also call me on the number given below so that I can teach you life skill issues and you can be successful in life. Jai Hind.